Hi there, welcome to today's Business Growth Club show. We are so pleased to have you here. The theme is growth marketing.
We're talking about actions and consequences today.
It's all about purpose.
Driving business growth with using KPIs.
We're talking money mindset.
The Growth Club, I mean, not to oversell it, but it's so well organised. So yeah, it was totally invaluable.
The Growth Club, coupled alongside with the Masters that I'm doing at Strategic Leadership at the moment, both of those things happening collectively have definitely transformed, and the Growth Club did have a massive impact for our business.
What is it that attracted you to come to the Growth Club in the first place? Let me just ask you to start off with that.
Well, because it was the two of you, basically.
Hi, that was great. Welcome to the show. And we're pleased to be back with you. The world is opening up again, and we'd planned this episode, and we couldn't have timed it better, could we, Mahmood?
Rishi did actually drop me a line, and said, would you be okay to carry on with your show as we make the government announcement? I said, of course we will, Rishi.
So our theme is, we've got 5 ways that you can grow your revenue in 2021. So very practical, no BS. Some great tips and advice, and some of it you probably know, but we're going to remind you of some of those things so that you can really double down and make sure you're doing all the things that you need to be doing to get match fit and get ready for when the world opens up again, which it's starting to do. Fingers crossed and all that.
Absolutely.
We've had a good day, haven't we, Mahmood?
It's been brilliant, actually. It's been, we spoke to each other this morning, as we do every Tuesday morning. We've been involved in meeting some businesses of today and tomorrow, which has been fantastic. And tonight's material, by the way, everyone, because there's so much, just like every episode is packed with so much, we're saying, depending how we get on tonight, there might be an overspill next week. And there's so much to share, and it's going to be real brilliant takeaway stuff there as well. Yeah.
So as always, we want to hear from you as we go through the show. So let us know where you are, what you're doing right now. Let us know what you're doing to get your business ready and even more ready. I know we've all been very busy and working hard anyway, but just let us know where you're at. And we've got some more news to tell you about at the end of the show as well. So do stay tuned for that. And we answer all the comments, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah, keep them coming in. So 5 ways to grow your revenue. What are your thoughts, Mahmood?
Well, I tell you what, it was quite difficult to narrowing it down to 5. And I think for everyone, as we share these thoughts and tips, by the way, these are tried and tested, by the way. These are tried and tested on all types of businesses. So if you're a private business, not-for-profit, social enterprise, you think this doesn't really apply to me, ditch that notion completely, because we're going to drill down, show you the numbers, show you the systems that you need, show you how to squeeze the most out of what you've got already. And there's a number of things that we're going to share with you. And if this works, Joe, being a little bit organised, I'm just going to share my screen. Just put it with me for a second, everybody. And there we have, bang, bang, me and Joe. Where are we? There we are. So we've got quite a number of topics to go through. And can I just point out, by the way, Joe's brilliant and innovative in terms of creativity, idea generation. That's her forte. She's got a good, strong background in numbers as well. I'm coming to this from a numbers perspective with a blend of entrepreneurship and business knowledge here. And the two heads combined, by the way, there's nothing we can't tell you about revenue growth as far as that's concerned. And we've got, well, basically 4 or 5 key themes to go on. Yeah. So we're going to talk about knowing your product super performers, so your product or service super performers, and we'll go into a bit more detail about those. We're going to be also suggesting that you revisit all your customer relationships, talking a bit about social media and making sure you're educated on that, and we'll explain what we mean by educated. Pricing is important, and looking at how frequently your customers do business with you. So we're really thinking about the different levers you can pull to really push your revenue. And we're talking about profitable revenue growth as well. You know, anybody can go after revenue growth and sell something for nothing, but we mean meaningful, profitable, sustainable
growth. And Richard's here from Weldmax as well. So good evening to you. It's really good to see you. Hope you enjoy the show.
Richard.
Yeah,
I think that's a great point you make there about Joe, about revenue. Pursuing revenue, to my mind, is not really the main objective of the business. It's profits and cash that are your two main drivers. And with all this, by the way, we're looking to drill down beyond the global overall profit, and we're going to have to try and understand more about your different customer groups, different product groups there as well. So if you can get down and dirty to that level, I'll promise you, you're going to liberate and generate so much value in your business as well.
Yeah, so let's get to it. Let's start off with knowing your product or service super performers, because we've got a visual to show you in a second, and we won't go into that.
A bit rushed there. Let's go.
Sneak preview. You had a sneaky look there. That's all right. That's okay. Because we speak to so many entrepreneurs who've got a big product range or lots of different services that they do, which is fine. But do you actually know how every single one of those is performing for you? Do you know how much revenue it brings in? Do you know how profitable it is? Do you know the growth rate of it? Because the chances are, if you don't, you've got a long tail of bits and pieces of things that you sell from time to time that actually might be slowing you down. We see that quite a lot. And it's important to really understand, the dynamics of what's going on in your portfolio, and your accounting tools can help you do that, can't they?
Yeah, they can indeed. And I think I'm going to pick up on two things there. When we talk about portfolio, so if we visualize something like a supermarket, if you imagine supermarkets, they've got a long list of individual products there, but supermarket would probably break that down, and they might be thinking in terms of, for example, food groups, which you can break down into, for example, fresh food, tin food. You've got electricals, which you can break down into subgroups here. So a bit of a tip here, everybody. After tonight, or even during the broadcast, think about what you're selling and think, if I was to describe them and categorize them and break them down into features that are common, that's your start point there. And those accounting tools, the heavy lifting, we've talked before about digital, we've talked about cloud. You really need to plug that in. And you really need to be able to think and articulate your business in terms of the different product groups that you have and the different customer groups that you serve. Yeah.
And I used to actually be head of marketing and pricing for one of the UK's largest supermarket groups. It was a long time ago, but the principles are still used in all sorts of things today, and they're still being used today, which is, if you imagine that you've only got a fixed amount of space, what is the best mix of products or services? I know services don't go into space, but bear with me. But what is the best mix you can use that space for in terms of your profitability and your revenue? So if you think about supermarket pricing, they have good, better, best. So good is your value baked beans, better are the standard baked beans, and best would be the premium baked beans with extra loveliness in, or even more beans and less sauce. Okay, so and it's about getting the right mix of things, because if you've got a load of product that you are holding and only selling from time to time, firstly, that's cash tied up in stock. So don't really want that. Also, you're spending time and resource and effort promoting things that aren't necessarily going to add value to you, overall. You might be better diverting that attention and that spend onto the things that work. That said, sometimes we do need to bear in mind that in order for us to sell some of the bigger things, we need to offer some of the smaller things. It may be the case, but check out your assumptions, because a lot of people assume they need these two things together, and it's not always true. So check that out first.
Absolutely, check your assumptions. Yeah. And by the way, even if you're not a physical retailer, by the way, your business is a store. So if you think within that store here, you may have things that, if you visualize your business as a store, as a shop, you want to entice people into your business. So there might be products that you serve and supply which persuade them to come in, have a look around what you've got on offer, and as they look around your business store, then you might persuade them to actually buy higher end products here. So therefore, don't look at this just in terms of numbers. They've got a relationship, but I think, as Joe said, you've got to test how valid is your assumption that they come and buy X, therefore they'll buy Y.
And if it's a service is intangible. So, but a service takes time. So the service is delivered, the moment is here and then it's gone. We have 168 hours each every week. And everybody in a working week has their working hours, which is finite. So it's about, instead of having space, it's the time element that is the key thing for you if you are a service business, and how you spend that time and budget for that. So, it's good to hear that Richard actually says he delves into Xero reports. We love Xero, don't we, Mahmood?
We do.
Yeah, it soon highlights products which we may be neglecting, and this helps to focus on products to promote, which is quite a nice segue into our visual, I think. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think a bit of a drum roll here. And this visual representation, by the way, it's a very simple 2x2 matrix here, but what it does, it actually focuses the mind. And you're probably thinking, what on earth are we talking about? Let's introduce drum roll. There we go.
Yeah, it's a classic as well. So this is nothing new. You know, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, those businesses have been using this for years. But, you know, the classical key ideas are universal and stand the test of time. So this is the BCG, Boston Consulting Group matrix, is what it's called. If you hear it knocking around, let us know if you've seen it before, if you use it. So, Mahmood, where are we going to start?
Well, let's start off with, before we actually dive in to look at the 4 quadrants here, if you want to apply this for your own business, and again, even though big multinationals use this model as a start point to do some initial portfolio analysis, do it to yours. So look at your products, and you might want to think of your products in terms of the relative profitability they make per each product group there as well. So we start off with, I'm going to start off with probably the one on the bottom right hand side, the dogs. And what it's trying to do here is it's looking at your product group, and it's positioning those on in terms of where you see those relative to your competition, your marketplace. Now, a dog, by the way, and it's a bit of an old tired cliche, this, a dog is a product group that consumes a lot of resources, generates very little value, probably making you losses, and therefore it gets positioned in a dog. And in that, when you put all this together, a dog is one that, sadly, it says you put down, basically get rid of it, divesting it. Unless there's a real strong commercial reason to retain that, it has no value and it consumes too many resources for you to generate value.
Yeah, so we've got 2 axes here. So the vertical axis is about how fast the product or services, the sales of that product or service are growing, your growth rate. And the horizontal axis is about how many you sell. So it's really about volume. So a dog is low growth, low volume, just pulling you back. If we go over to the quadrant on the bottom left of your screen, that is a cash cow, which means that you are selling, you know, really good volume, but there isn't particularly any growth. It's nice and steady away. You know, you keep turning over, and they're a cash cow because you can keep milking that. You're making good money, but it's not particularly growing spectacularly. It might be growing a bit.
Yeah, good idea. And I think, remember, the thing about cash cow, it feeds in cash flow, and cash flow is great because it keeps the business ticking over. Now, question marks, I'll leave the stars naturally to Joe at the end. Question marks are those things that you may have got good customer feedback. It's a good product in your eyes. Customers are giving you good, you know, responses to it, but it's not actually gaining traction. You're not shifting a lot of this in. And therefore, the question marks is, it means you actually have to closer look. What is it that it isn't quite hitting the mark, that those sales volumes are going up? Now, it may be that as a result of what it takes to put it right, you may decide that's not a good use of your time, your resources, your investment, and therefore you divest. Or it may be saying, we've identified what the issues are, we're going to put them right, and question marks can become your stars.
Yeah. So a question mark is, you are seeing some growth, but you're not shifting. It's not taking off in the way that you want it to take off. Now, if you don't look after a question mark, if it doesn't have potential, it will be tomorrow's dog. But if you get the same with a cash cow, actually, you know, cash cows still need nurturing. But if you don't nurture your cash cows, they become a dog as well. Sounds a bit surreal, this, doesn't it? Cows into dogs and everything. Yeah. But what a cash cow does as well is it funds you getting behind the potential products and services of the next phase of your business. And these are the stars. These are the things that you want to have high growth, and you're not necessarily you're gonna sell big time. They're going to replace the cash cows tomorrow, if that makes sense. So stars are there really, your growth for the future, because all of this is always moving. So for instance, the Apple iPhone 12 is a star at the moment, but where would you put the iPhone 5, which now feels like prehistoric? Sorry if you've got an iPhone 5. I'm sure some people really still love them, but an iPhone 5 is possibly a dog at the moment, because it's being it's not around anymore, being phased out. So this is how organizations like Apple are managing the portfolio. They've got some cash cows that are selling. The Apple Watch was a question mark for quite a while. Was it going to take off or not? And it's actually with greater functionality and all the health benefits and information you can get, and the quantified self sort of era that we're in, it's turned into a star. So got to keep an eye on all of these. What was true last year isn't necessarily true this year for your business. Different things will take off at different times. So quite a lot there. And so where would you, if you were to sit down with some post-it notes or pen and paper, where would you stick your products and services? Which category? And then the important thing is to make an action plan and say, right, how am I going to ditch these dogs? How am I going to nurture my cash cows? How am I going to make my stars fly? And am I going to get behind the question marks, or am I going to leave them? And make those decisions and create a strategy around it, a plan around it. Do you think that's okay for that, Mahmood? Is there anything you'd add?
I think we've, using the cash cow analogy, we've milked that. And remember to look after your stars. Your stars are the ones where, based on their very nature, you pander to them, you look after them, you invest in them. But again, it's about getting focused, getting some clarity of what you're doing. So before you even put things into quadrants, identify what your groups are, identify your clusters, look at them in terms of, and if you haven't got the stats, by the way, get the stats. You need the numbers to help you position them there as well. But I think pretty much we've got that pretty much well covered.
Yeah. The one thing I would say is if you're lacking in stars, you need to be thinking about innovating, because your cash cows are unlikely to sustain you forever. So remember, we say disrupt or be disrupted. Everything's always changing. If you're a bit limited on your stars, think about what your product offering for next year and beyond might be, and start to work on it now.
Yeah, and remember, these things decline, so everything's got a finite life cycle.
So that's one way of really leveraging your revenue growth, is by doing this with your products and services and getting behind the right stuff, not wasting time on the stuff that doesn't matter, focusing on the stuff that does. The second thing is to revisit all your customer relationships. And
we're going to introduce a term, again, some of you may have come across before. It's used quite often in marketing. It's used quite often in terms of thinking, if I'm going to do a campaign, if I'm going to invest these resources here, I've got to get my head around something called customer lifetime value or lifetime value. So in good old Blue Peter tradition, one we prepared earlier for you, the visuals probably make it easier, by the way, to encapsulate what we're referring to here. So let me add this back to the stream. And here we've got a visual of lifetime value. Well, it's two things here. Ultimately, it's leading to customer lifetime value. Now, on this basis, everybody, before we go through this, the objective is this, is having defined your customer avatar, having defined your customer group there, if we can translate that into a financial number, then that helps us to actually decide whether it's worthwhile investing in this. So I'm going to start with the top, the lifetime value. You need three key numbers here. You need to know from your customer clusters, your customer avatar, what's the average level sales value that you generate from that customer. How many transactions do you engage into? So again, I know Joe dipped into the baked beans example. So effectively, I'm guessing in the retail world, you've got consumer groups here. So how many times you sell a tin of beans? How many times will a customer come into your store to buy those tin of beans? And what you've got is over the lifetime period of that customer, how much are they going to be spending with you on that group?
Yeah. And you can do this at the segment level, the customer grouping level, but also more now with CRM, customer relationship management systems. It's actually mass personalization.
Yeah.
So you can get really specific in terms of who's spending what. And why we talk about lifetime customer value is because you know, when you're marketing and when you're investing and growing your business, it's not just that one transaction. You know, you did a marketing campaign and you got a customer and they spent whatever. It's actually about thinking how you're going to nurture and grow your relationship with that customer over time. So, and what's the value of that? And then you know how much you can invest in that relationship. So, and obviously the longer you know, the cost is in acquiring a new customer. That's substantially more expensive to do that than it is to work with existing ones, which is why this lifetime value metric is so important.
Yeah, and just a statistic, I think it's still something about once you've got that customer onboarded, by the way, that nurturing, that looking after the customer, it's more expensive to acquire new customers, by the way, than to retain existing ones here. And what you're looking for is that looking after the customer, delivering good service, good value. They're going to be staying with you more on a long-term basis. Convert that ultimately, if you can, to what that does that work out in profit margin. So we said value is good, the sales value, but ultimately you want to try and convert that to what does that translate in terms of the net margin, the gross margin you get from that segment.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've done this as well, Mahmood, but talking to businesses in recent weeks, some of them have let some of those customer relationships slide over lockdown, and they've still been trading and doing things, but actually there's an opportunity now, I think, to really go back and make sure you make contact with all your key customers and look at how you can serve them as we're going into this sort of new phase with things opening up and the world's going to change again as we do that. So there's a great opportunity to do that. Go through systematically anyone you've not done business with for a while. Make sure you're looking after the people, of course, that you are currently and have recently done business with as well. But so many people just don't go back and reconnect with people, and there's often no particular reason why people have stopped doing, haven't done business with you for a while. It could be just that you've not been front of mind or that they've been doing something else. But remind them that you're there, offer help, see how you can support, reconnect, see how they're doing. And honestly, that makes a massive difference.
Say hello to them.
Yeah, profitable, but positive, mutually beneficial relationships is what we're after. And you can use Xero and other tools as well to help with this, can't you, Mahmood?
Yeah, I mean, Xero, I know Richard's flagged it up. I know he's a big Xero user. I know you love Xero as well. I love it. Mm-hmm. And literally, you can drill down. And again, I think we might have flagged it up before. If not, I'm going to mention it again. Is that if you rely on your annual financial accounts to run your business, you're missing out a lot of opportunity, and that's a rubbish way to run your business. You need to think about information that you need on a management purpose, and something like Xero, there are other products around there, enables you to say, when I sell something, I generate a sale, and then I'm going to allocate it to a particular product group or a tracking category. When I spend money, I'm going to do the same thing. And getting that drill down to profitability per segment, I promise you, it's a very, very powerful way to actually interrogate what's actually going on under the massive numbers.
Yeah. So what we recommend you do is you sit down with your numbers and a big pot of tea or whatever it is, and you work through where your products or services are using the matrix that we, the 2x2 that we showed you earlier. Look at your customers who you need to contact, where they're all at, and make a plan around that. And we've got a few more things to share with you this evening as well. But just to say, if you want some space and some support and a bit of structure around how you do that, we have got an amazing business boot camp that we're running on the 18th of March, where you'll be with us live on Webinar Jam, and we'll be able to see you. You can talk to us, you'll be there as well, and you'll be able to work through all of this and come out with a plan on a page for your business plan. So we're going to take you through this for your business step by step. So the offer is, there's an early bird offer, so just have a look at the bottom of the screen, because one of the other things is about promoting and how you're talking about your business and about being in the right place and being really visible. So I said earlier, make sure you're educated on social media.
Yeah, make sure you've got that awareness. Now, I think it applies, we're talking about social media in particular, but I think it relates to anything where you delegate or you outsource any function in your business. So do not abrogate, do not walk away and leave somebody just to say, get on with it. You need to have an understanding what your outcomes are, what your objectives are, how it works. If you decide that you don't have the time, the skills to actually do it yourself, you need to make sure you actually understand what's going on in the world of social media. Obviously, it's not the only mechanism for marketing, but it's still it's very much a growing one, and very much has its part to play.
Yeah. And, maybe experiment with, actually, if you're not already, you might be doing this already, but selling on social media. Tomorrow I start a 3-day juice cleanse from a business called Prescription, Prescription juicers. And they're just, it looks delicious. And they've arrived today, ready for me to start tomorrow. And I saw them on Instagram, and that's where they're selling from. And that's, if you want to test something, try developing some of the stars and see if you can look at some new revenue channels. Then that might be something for you to consider as well, as just a quick way of getting things out there. And
challenge.
Yeah, see we get on. See how grumpy I am or not. Within about 8 hours, we'll see how that goes. I'll report back next week. And your pricing is so important. It's not just about putting the price up. It's about, are you competitive? Have you got the right bundles? Do you need to do a special offer? The pricing and revenue, of course, all of these things, these are all the levers. They're all linked. Product, service, performance, your customer, where you're getting out into the market, but how much you're charging. So, Mahmood, your thoughts on pricing?
I did, yeah. And can I just dip in? When we talk about pricing, by the way, please don't run away, because pricing is such a massive area here. It's part psychology. It's part what's my objectives, what is it I wish to achieve, and effectively it's also involving understanding what your numbers are. It's very rare, by the way, that in any business there's one pricing approach that is for everything. So a company may have an objective of getting more sales, getting into new space, penetrating that marketplace, and it chooses a particular pricing strategy. A company may wish to keep competitors at bay, to actually have barriers. It may set up a different pricing point. You mentioned the iPhone earlier on, Joe. I'm going back in time, my memory serves me right. When I introduced the tablet, the iPhone tablet here, they deliberately had a premium price.
The iPad,
that's what it's called.
The iPhone tablet.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was called, actually. Thank you very much for coming to my rescue there. What did you call it again? The iPad?
iPad, yeah.
The iPad. But they deliberately set the price about $100, $150 above the eventual price here, because they knew there were a cohort of buyers that wanted that product, and I must have that. And they deliberately set that price high to get that section of market, and then lowered the price accordingly. So remember, we're going to give you a snapshot in pricing approaches here, and here's one I prepared for you earlier. So now, Joe, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
Right, because we're talking about, and this is one way of looking at it, and what we're going to do, if this works, Joe, 2 questions then.
Yeah.
So first of all, I would like you to think in terms of, you can use your retailing experience or anything else. Give me a price for a product, please.
Okay, a price for a product. I'm going to go for a medium-sized Monstera.
Yep.
which is a plant. And I think that's probably about 20 quid.
Okay.
I know because I bought one.
So what I'm going to show you, everybody, here. Now, you don't have to do the heavy lifting, and I think we talked about technology. And here's a calculator. I'll make the link available. When me and Joe launch something exciting in the next couple of weeks here, we'll make the calculator available. So £20 is the price. And what would you say one of these plants cost, Joe?
Well, I think they propagate them, but then they take a while to grow and they need heating and lighting and feeding and labour and care. Oh, I don't know. £10.
Right, so what we've got here, if I can get this to work.
I'm very sorry to Dave at the plant workshop up in Teesside if I've got this wrong.
Okay, what I'm going to do, just the slider, I'm going to pretend it's £11. So what we've got here, we've got a product that sells for 20. It makes an £11 is the cost price. It makes a 9 unit profit. Now, Joe, you're very ambitious. You want to conquer Yorkshire with selling these plants. So would you consider offering these at a discount?
No.
Okay. Now, so if Joe doesn't want to do a discount,
say yes. No, actually, I would in some circumstances. I might offer a discount. Yes.
Okay. So at the moment, you know your cost. You know you're making a $9 or £9 per unit profit on that, 45% margin. And Joe says, do you know what? I actually like to sell a lot more plants. So what's she going to do? She's going to give her customers a 10% discount. Now, the actual mathematics aren't relevant, by the way. But all it's saying is, if Joe wants to achieve the same overall cash profit, she's going to have to move that. She's going to have to sell an extra 35%. And it could be she knows her customer base quite well, and she knows she can achieve that. And effectively, there's 2 or 3 things that we do with the pricing strategy. One, we know what we've got to hit as a target. We can play around with the costs. We can play around with the selling prices to get where we want. For those of you who are retailers, by the way, I'm not going to go through it now. If you put your VAT rate at the top, it will just tell you what that translates that into on a retailing basis.
I don't know. Are the VAT on? Is VAT?
No, they wouldn't be on those plants, not unless you made it into a food product.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I was just saying if you were retailing something else, but you're quite right. At the moment, until the 3rd of March, we'll find out there's no VAT on house plants.
So this is really cool because so many people think they offer something at a discount, but you have to sell so many more of them to stand still. So if your sales are good, don't cannibalize your existing sales by discounting. Discounting is great if you want to introduce something to a market, if you want to get some quick sales in. That there's some really good reason if you want to say thank you to a special customer, or somebody's you're going to drive volume. The more you buy, the less per unit it can cost the customer, and do things like that to drive loyalty. All fine, as long as there's a strategy behind it and you realise the consequences of how that's affecting the dynamics, because a £5 discount doesn't translate. It's not a straight line in terms of the impact. You've got to drive your sales up more.
Yeah, and if that was your objective, if you wanted to get sales volume up, remember, this is a very simplistic approach. Be aware of what the financial impact is, but it could mean that if you're selling more, you get a better discount on your purchasing. So therefore, it's having these, what's the objective, what's the impact, and then going ahead there as well.
Yeah, and the other thing, the fifth lever that we're talking about for revenue growth is about increasing the frequency of purchase. Now, we've sort of touched on that with the lifetime value of the customer. But this is more about upselling. It's about how you can get people more frequently, buying from you more frequently. That's better.
I think that's what you meant, yeah.
That's what I meant, yeah. And getting that, sounds a bit weird, but customer stickiness. And that we don't mean anything gooey. We just mean that, the customer is tied in a good way, wants to continually or needs to continually buy from you. So what structures can you put in place? Could that be a subscription model? Could it be a retainer? Are there some upsells that you can create? So when you come to the webinar on the 18th of March, and if you can't make the date, you can participate, you can watch the recording and we'll help you out afterwards. but you'll have me and Mahmood. You will have work on your business with your paper, pens, laptop in front of you, and you're going to work through each of these 5 areas and come out with a lot more clarity on your business. And you're going to have our 2 brains on it as well.
It's not that far away, is it, Joe? So we're talking about about 3 weeks and a bit.
3 weeks, yeah, 3 and a bit weeks, yeah. So we've got an early bird offer on. If you book for that, it's £79 plus VAT, and it will be £99 plus VAT once that early bird offer. So, you've got it here. I'm talking about it, and you've got it. Yeah.
Now, obviously, the details are going to be released next week here, so we're just going to put the final touches to the webinar. We're dead excited about this because I think you can turn up. You don't need to put a whole day aside. You need to put a few hours aside, come in, and you'll walk away with something that's actionable. Yeah, and although we say webinar, it's not a webinar where you just tune in and listen. It's it's a workshop, so it's interactive. So we'll share some content with you. You'll have a go at some stuff. You'll have access to us to answer your questions. You'll do some work, and you'll come out with something really tangible that you can use in your business. You're not behind a screen just passively watching. You're actually working on your business. Yeah, so you need to get your sleeves rolled up. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah. It'll give you a glimpse also to what the Business Growth Club, but ultimately it's a standalone thing. Turn up, come with a thinking, right, I want to walk away with something. You're going to be involved. We're not going to be talking at you because it's a waste. There's no point in that. And as I said, details will be released next week. Yeah. So come and join us. There's a special offer code there, BGC, Business Growth Club, DIS. I think, does that stand for discount? It does indeed. I can't get anything past you. This is what happens with a creative accountant. I know that's like a bad thing, but in this case, it's not. So that's it. And what we're going to talk about next week in the shows, we're back same time, same place, 6 p.m. UK time every Tuesday, is some of the mistakes that we see people are making right now as business owners, as entrepreneurs. And sometimes they don't know they're making them, and they're blindsided. So we're going to share some of those with you and build on the conversation we've had today. Perfect. Listen, folks, thanks very much for your company tonight. As Joe said, this is on replay. So if you've got comments, if you come onto the show afterwards, put your hashtag replay, add a comment in there. We know you're there. We will pick it up. We'll release some more details about the route map here, the boot camp later on. Yeah, Richard, thank you very much for that. I'm just going to share what Richard has said there. Similar invite. Yeah, it's absolutely will do. And I would just say thank you for your company. Hope you got some good takeaways from that. And we'll see you folks next week. See you soon. Bye. See you soon. Let's play out this jazzy music as well. Hi there, welcome to today's Business Growth Club show. We are so pleased to have you